It's been 3 months since the breakup, and my ex-boyfriend suddenly called me. The people in the bar have all gone home. Nin, why haven't you come to pick me up yet? My eyes immediately watered, struggling to hold back and ask him where he was. The voice on the other end suddenly burst into a wild laugh, laughing almost to the point of breathlessness. You silly girl, I'm either playing or challenging you, you're really easy to fool. I choked out, you can scold me however you want, Guamo, just as long as you come home with me. The other end of the phone suddenly fell silent. Damn it, who is Guamo? It's been 3 months since the breakup, and my illness has relapsed. That dream hasn't returned for a long time, yet this time it flooded back, tormenting me mercilessly. In the dream, I kissed that gloomy, handsome man, experiencing the happiest days, but he placed a gun at my side. He painfully said he loved me. Then his eyes turned red, he pulled the trigger, and the gunshot rang out, but there was no bullet inside. But the one lodged in my hand didn't hesitate to pull a line. In the dream, that man died. Before he died, a smile of fulfillment appeared on his face, smiling and telling me to take him home. My chest hurt to the point of suffocation, struggling to wake up in a state where I couldn't even take a breath. It's absurd to say, but this dream has haunted me for over 3 years. The excruciating pain in the dream continued to torment me after waking up, making me repeatedly feel the loss of the one I loved. So, I went to see a psychologist and said that I loved someone in my dream. That person's name is Guamo. After hypnosis and tranquilizers proved ineffective, the doctor suggested I try dating to see if I could move on. If not, then using real feelings to detoxify is also good. Jiangyu appeared at that moment. He looked just like the man in my dream. I once believed he was Guamo stepping out of my dream. The faces were the same, the voices were the same, even the curve of his lips when he smiled was eerily similar. In the bar, he came in a daze, huddled in the corner, clutching my shirt, asking if I could take him home. In that moment, I felt like I had waited for several lifetimes. I believed that my Guamo had finally stepped out of the dream to find me. I took him home and sat on the sofa watching over him all night. But when I woke up, facing his sorrowful gaze, he smiled so joyfully. He laughed so hard that his shoulders shook. Was it because nothing happened that he felt a bit disappointed? After saying that, he admired my collar. Next time, pull your collar down a bit, I might not sleep with you so quickly. Even though he was unreasonable, fate still made me lower my dignity to be with him. At first, I loved him so much that I couldn't control myself. I would ask him anxiously at sunset if he would never leave me. I would wake up in the middle of the night, gently caressing his neck, confirming there were no new wounds before feeling at ease to sleep again. I poured all my lingering feelings for Guamo in the dream onto Jiangyu, indulging him without resentment, helping him sort out the mess he created. When he was hospitalized, I took care of him day and night, fearing that he might disappear in the blink of an eye like in the dream. He often looked at me in a daze, mumbling why he couldn't meet me a little earlier. At that time, I didn't understand the implication of those words until that Valentine's Day appointment. Zhongvu has always been modest, but that day he rarely took the initiative to raise his voice to invite me. At the fancy restaurant, he came holding a sincere bouquet, walking lazily, his bright eyes attracting quite a few glances from passing girls, some even secretly raised their phones to take pictures. He glanced at that girl, smiled and said, "Make sure to take a good one." After that, he leaned down and gave me a long kiss on the lips. In my chest, my heart was beating erratically as if it wanted to jump out. Amidst the noise, he asked for a photo from the other person, saying he wanted to post it on his friend circle. I thought maybe he was finally serious about this whimsical relationship, but after all, he seemed uneasy. Facing my mixed feelings of joy and anxiety, he answered vaguely, continuously glancing at his phone. When he saw a call labeled a, he suddenly straightened his back, his gaze seemingly lost outside the window. I told him if he had something to do, he could go ahead. He turned off the phone, softening his voice to laugh with me. Today, he just wanted to do the most important thing, which is to be with you. He picked up food and affectionately fed it to me. Perhaps he still wasn't aware. He even picked up the decorative lettuce. After feeding me, he took a napkin to wipe my mouth. Even though my lips weren't dirty at all. A bad premonition rose up. Sure enough, after a series of intimate gestures, his phone rang incessantly. Time and again, Jong-Vu showed an awkward smile, then pretended reluctantly to say, "The company has an urgent matter." I smiled and told him to go quickly and come back soon. He looked at me with a complicated expression, hesitated for a few seconds, then hurriedly turned to leave. I don't know what possessed me, but I quietly followed him. Seeing below, not far away, was a beautiful girl standing there. Her angle perfectly captured all the intimate actions between me and Jong-Vu in the restaurant. A thought made me shiver. This appointment of Jong-Vu surely wasn't for this girl to see, right? Jong-Vu hurried to run, but when he got close to the girl named Lam Yuyan, he slowed down, putting on an impatient demeanor. He said he was on a date, telling Lam Yuyan to say whatever she needed to say quickly. Lam Yuyan looked extremely distressed, asking him why he was degrading himself. She said, "Even if I don't agree to be your girlfriend, you can't just casually find someone to degrade yourself, can you? You are like this, unworthy of those who care about you." His silence felt like a sentence to me. Indeed, I was the one he casually found. After a while, I heard him angrily say, "How do you know I don't truly love her?" Lam Yuyan smiled bitterly, "Don't you know what love feels like?" After saying that, she grabbed Jong-Vu's shirt and tiptoed to kiss him. A passionate and domineering kiss. Jong-Vu was stunned in place, and only after a while did Lam Yuyan pull back, confused and flustered. This was the true appearance of being moved. "So, Jong-Vu, even if you don't agree to be with me, you can't just casually find someone to degrade yourself." In that moment, I hid behind a column, silently crying. At that time I understood that I was not a predetermined fate, I was just someone he casually found to provoke Lam Yuyan. He resented Lam Yuyan as a place of indecision, which is why he conveniently turned to me. In the bar, he looked at us with a cold demeanor, thinking it would be more interesting to joke around. He bet that I would definitely pick him up, and I really did bring him home. I felt like a voyeur, quietly watching them go from a fierce argument to a passionate embrace. They were too much like the main characters in a heart-wrenching story, while I was just an anonymous extra. My heart ached to the point of numbness. I decided to break up. But I don't know if it was an illusion or not, the suffocating feeling from Guemo in my dreams that had weighed on my heart for 3 years had lessened significantly. That day, Jong-Vu was very late and didn't come back. I scrolled through his friend's room, and that intimate photo had been deleted. On the day we met again, Jong-Vu looked worn out and tired, as if we had been apart for a long time. He hugged me tightly and bowed his head to shout. He closed his eyes and kissed me tenderly and endlessly. I thought maybe he was looking for the feeling of confusion that Lam Yuyan once mentioned. I pushed him away. He opened his eyes in confusion, his gaze a bit guilty and vague. My chest was once again painfully loud. But this time I was very clear. That suffocating feeling had disappeared. He took advantage of me first. It's not too much for me to use him as an antidote. Back to the present at the noisy bar. Most of those who hadn't left just wanted to see the spectacle, to watch how he would be humiliated when he called someone else's name by mistake. When I entered the room, they were looking at the clock, counting the time. Not more than half an hour to fly straight there. Jong-Vu is indeed impressive. Are women nowadays that shallow? Is it just about looks? Being teased like that and still sticking around? Jong-Vu was still leaning in the dark corner, not saying a word. The light obscured half of his face, and the moment our eyes met, the feeling of pain like drowning surged up and quickly faded away. Perhaps it was because my eyes had unintentionally turned red. Jong-Vu smirked at me, filled 3 large glasses of wine as if bestowing them, and said, "Finish this, and I'll consider forgiving you." Under the light, his face was clear, looking just like Ko-Mak stepping out of a dream. I don't know why he turned to look for me only to argue with Lam Yuyan or if he really discovered something about me. But those things no longer mattered. What mattered was that this time the feeling of breathlessness had almost vanished. The corners of my mouth unintentionally curled into a smile. Oh my, so happy that I have to hold my chest? Jongvu, can you share some tips another time? My trainer really listened too well. The harsh words rang out, but my mood was not shaken at all. I raised my glass and drank it all in one go. The first glass, a toast to myself. Cheers to my perseverance and not giving up easily. The shouts mixed with soft jeers rang out. Truly cheap. Called to come and then left. Jongvu let his friends tease and provoke me. Not only did he not stop them, but the corners of his mouth also curled up in a bit of smugness. I took a deep breath, feeling the heavy stone in my chest finally drop. I raised the second glass, looking straight at Jongvu. The second glass, a toast to Jongvu, for pretending with me, never considering me as a human being. This time, the whispered words had turned into loud mocking laughter. So cheap, haha, the card placed has some spirit. Jongvu, I'll take the number first. When you're done playing, don't throw it away, I also want to experience a bit. Jongvu frowned, unhappily looking at that person, but still let me drink the second glass. The relief in my chest was unprecedented, so light that it felt like I had never dreamed of Comac. My head was a bit dizzy, I laughed and staggered forward. I took Jongvu's hand, raised it in front of my eyes to look closely. His palm was soft and smooth, clearly never having held a gun. I turned my arm over and saw a faint, shallow scar. Touching it made me realize it wasn't right. The scar on Comac should be a bit deeper. The surrounding noise grew louder, as if they were saying I was too recklessly desperate for Jiangyu's body to the point of madness. Jiangyu rarely showed a teasing expression. He gently comforted me. You're drunk, Nam Nin, don't rush, let's go home. He stood up to support me amidst the shouting. I blocked him again, my gaze fixed intensely on his open collar. Finally, I confirmed once more that I was completely sober. Amidst the hateful yet curious glances, I slowly pulled Jiangyu's collar aside. There was no mole on the collarbone, nor any trace of being lasered away. Jiangyu took a cold breath, and his voice became a bit hoarse. Nam Nin, we can't be here. In the midst of the loud whistling, I suddenly became clear. Jiangyu was definitely not Comac. As an antidote, he had played his role to the fullest, then became useless to me. I struggled free and grabbed the third glass of wine. At this moment, Jiangyu finally showed a reluctant expression and reached out to stop me. You can't drink anymore, you're drunk. Before the word drunk had even left my lips, he was stunned by my cold, sober gaze. I smiled. The third glass was to mourn the brief, fateful connection between him and me. The glass tilted, and the wine slowly spilled at Jiangyu's feet. Jiangyu, you acted very well, but in the end, you are not my Comac. In his startled gaze, I let go. The glass shattered, scattering in all directions, like a brilliant dream finally shattered. When Jiangyu realized that the person named Comac might actually exist, his face turned dark and frightening. He threw the glass away and kicked the person who was joking around. He said, Nam Nin, if you admit defeat to me now, I won't hold it against you anymore. I glanced at the messy pile on the ground, smiled at him, and said, don't, young Master Jiang, if you don't hold it against me, you won't be like my Comac anymore. However, my Comac, when he got angry, wouldn't throw glasses or kick someone in frustration like that. He would remain silent when provoked, directly take out his gun, and not forget to attach a silencer. After saying that, I pretended to aim a gun at his head with my hand. Bang! The veins on Jiangyu's forehead bulged violently. I gave him one last glance, then smiled and turned to leave. The noise and chaos behind me no longer concerned me. I wiped the tears from my face. Goodbye, Comac. If I had decisively left before, then no matter what, I shouldn't disturb him again. After that night, my life returned to peace. Comac no longer appeared in my dreams. When I had nothing to do, it was inevitably a sense of loss. Jiangyu sent a message to me through someone else. That person said, I've never seen Jiangyu so angry, he actually hung up on Lam Yuyan and decided to go home with you. As long as you take the initiative to find him and comfort him like before, you'll be free of suffering. I directly stopped that person. I was indeed free of suffering now. no longer having heartache every day, and I felt much more comfortable at work. Coincidentally, the theater troupe also started rehearsing a new script, and I was paired with a popular male actor. He came to the troupe to practice skills. The troupe valued him greatly and spared no effort in designing a new script for him. But the moment I took that script, my whole body stood on end. It was a tale of life and death with unrequited love, where the male and female leads were not on the same side. After experiencing teasing and probing, the psychological defenses of the two gradually fell. Their true feelings were hidden behind lies, caught in a struggle between love and desire. In the final choice, the male lead points his gun at the female lead. That's right, there's no bullet in the gun. The dagger in the girl's hand did not hesitate to strike. The boy smiled and admitted defeat. In the next life, he said, "You have to take me home then." An invisible hand suddenly tightened around my neck, the pain surged like a tide, drowning me in it. "Is this male lead named Guillermo?" I whispered the question. At that moment, Thin Hang walked in. He stepped in from outside, the light behind him illuminated him, making his figure look like it was inlaid with a layer of golden trim. A group of people holding scripts walked by, discussing something, and he politely yet distantly nodded at me before naturally sitting down on the sofa beside me. "This name Guillermo isn't bad, let's use it," he said. Those peach blossom eyes glanced at me briefly, making me feel a bit of illusion, as if he came for me. After saying that, he focused on talking with the director. It wasn't until his assistant brought over fruit tea that he studied the plot while casually picking up the cup of tea placed in front of me, as if it were a usual routine. I looked at his profile, which didn't resemble Guillermo at all, gradually feeling dazed, until Thin Hang's deep voice reached me, saying to the director, "Then let's do a trial performance, if Miss Nam Nin has no objections." After saying that, he turned to look at me, his eyes questioning. I regained my composure. The trial performance was supposed to be the intimate scene during the farewell. The director wanted to see how we would cooperate in the performance. Performing well but without the feeling of a couple wouldn't attract the audience. Of course, I had no reason to refuse, but it was a bit embarrassing to perform an intimate scene on our first meeting. The director cleared the scene, and then Thin Hang asked me if I had any limits, as usual. I indicated that I had read the script and could accept it. Thin Hang nodded, then raised his hand to take off his outer jacket. Underneath was a fitted black shirt that accentuated his slim waist. 2 buttons of his shirt were undone, the white collarbone combined with the dark fabric created an alluring sight. As Thin Hang unbuttoned his shirt and looked up, I was unexpectedly caught off guard, feeling the burning intensity and determination in his eyes. Raising my eyes, was this the legendary immersion into the role? The person who was just elegant and polite, a gentle and considerate young master, had long disappeared, replaced by a wild and reckless character lost in the performance. He stared at me, stepping closer, the cruelty and despair in Lon Fiend's eyes appeared, eventually transforming into unwillingness, collapsing like a compromise as he held me tightly. He turned me around, pressed me against the wall, and in a back-hugging position, searched my body. Not finding a weapon, he regrettably bit down on the back of my neck. I turned my head in pain, my cheek hitting his lips. He instinctively closed his eyes, in pain yet unable to stop himself from kissing wildly on my hair, eyebrows, and nose, finally fiercely catching the corner of my lips. I cried out in pain, opening my mouth but only managing to choke. "Guillermo, are you about to make a move?" I knew, if it followed the scene in my dream, his gun was about to be pressed against my waist, and tears uncontrollably fell. Thin Hang looked up again, his gaze focused and deeply affectionate as he gently wiped away the tears on my face. "What is fate anyway?" After the transformation, he said. While speaking, he disarmed and threw the gun into the bathtub. The gun sank to the bottom of the water. Thin Hang smirked, smiling so comfortably and beautifully, then leaned down and passionately kissed me, as if there were no tomorrow. This trial performance made the director forget to call for a cut. It wasn't until Thin Hang suddenly stepped back and scolded him that he seemed to wake up from a dream, exclaiming, "Good, good, very good, this emotion is very good." But Teacher Thin, why did you suddenly change the script? Aren't you supposed to shoot? Then Nam Nin killed him. Thin Hang restored his polite demeanor, handed me a handkerchief, and then started adjusting his shirt. After a while, he hoarsely said, the male lead dying like this will make the other party very suffocated. My hand that was wiping my face paused slightly as I looked at him in disbelief. After countless nights of waking up, I used to harbor such resentment. I resented Comac for forcing me to kill him, for making me carry the burden of guilt, but that resentment was buried deep in my heart, never showing on the surface. Feeling my gaze, Thin Hang turned his head. Am I wrong? Miss Nam Nin? He asked deeply. I hadn't even had the chance to respond when a commotion erupted outside. Zhang Vu stormed in angrily, and no one could stop him from going mad. After all, he used to be my boyfriend, and the staff could only intervene half-heartedly. His face was cold as he grabbed my wrist tightly. Did you just call him Comac? Thin Hang had just finished buttoning his shirt. Comac is just a name in the script. After speaking, he politely extended his hand towards Zhang Vu. Han Han, I am Thin Hang. Zhang Vu still held my hand tightly, his arrogance making him ignore the hand being extended in front of him. Thin Hang frowned slightly, clenched his fist, and lightly tapped Zhang Vu's elbow. A sudden pain made Zhang Vu release me, clutching his arm. Please respect my female lead. After Thin Hang said this, his thumb brushed over the corner of my lips, wiping away the remaining lipstick. The corners of Zhang Vu's eyes were red, but he stubbornly wanted to talk to me one more time. He said he had met my psychologist, knew I was sick, and didn't understand why the doctor spoke to him. In short, those explanations sounded both awkward and funny. He thought that because he was the one I couldn't have, I imagined a person just like him in my dreams and named him Comac. In my dreams, Comac loved me to the point of life and death. He believed that my illness was born because of him. In his eyes, there was guilt, but it seemed there was more smugness. Nam Nin is your fault. You don't know that you have hurt me so deeply. I studied him, unable to figure out where his brain had a problem. He pretended to be heartbroken and reached out to pull me. In the past, I often touched his neck in the middle of the night. It turned out it was because I had hurt him in my dreams. Nam Nin, you are unaware of how much I have endured. I avoided his hand. He awkwardly continued, you blame me, I understand. But at that time when you brought me back, I thought we both understood implicitly, it was just a game. I didn't think you would love me so deeply. If you had known to be a little weaker, I would never have hurt you no matter what. I stared at his face, a vague panic suddenly rising in my heart. I thought of Comac in my dreams. When I no longer dream of him, will he have the same expression? This reverse love dream is somewhat surreal. After I took a break, a bug of his appeared. Zhang Vu continued to indulge in his own emotions. Nam Nin, you are wrong. I had to use my role to heal for you, calling people by the name Comac. I will not let you down again. Don't be angry with me, I won't blame you anymore, okay? This is the first time Zhang Vu has humbled himself in front of me. After saying that, he looked at me with full hope. After a moment of silence, I suddenly burst out laughing, and the corners of Zhang Vu's mouth involuntarily curled up. I calmly asked, did the doctor tell you when I started dreaming about Comac? He hesitated slightly. No. Then he put on a heartbroken expression. But we've known each other for more than half a year, hasn't most of that time been filled with your suffering? He was still lost in his own sense of self-satisfaction. I slowly opened the medical record on my phone and held it in front of him. For 3.5 years, Zhang Vu, I have been dreaming about Comac for 3.5 years. That bastard Comac has tormented me for 3.5 years. Fortunately, I met someone who looks just like him, which is you. I looked directly into his eyes, speaking each word clearly. I used you to give up on him. Zhang Vu stood there in shock, his cheeks clearly flushed. First of all, don't get angry. I said calmly. Do you know? You won't lose anything either. For more than half a year, your treatment of me has been like coming and going as you please. I have never been stingy with clothes or money, and I inadvertently acted as a catalyst for your relationship with Ton Mai. No matter what, you won't be at a loss. I made it clear that I owe him nothing and told him that both logically and emotionally, he shouldn't come looking for me anymore. And this mutual exploitation can be considered dissolved peacefully. Jong-gu stood there in a daze. When I had walked quite far, suddenly his laughter echoed behind me. From a light mocking laugh to a loud, unrestrained laugh, it was just like the laughter from that phone call, both arrogant and pitiful. The days that followed were much more tranquil. The feeling of emptiness in my chest was replaced by a sense of hollowness. Fortunately, the theater troupe officially rehearsed, and that slight feeling of emptiness was completely shattered by the crazy Xing Hang. He often unexpectedly changed the script, turning a deeply emotional love story into a pursuit of love overcoming difficulties. In the teasing and probing phase at the beginning of the script, he didn't follow the script at all. He said that unexpected collisions could make Miss Nam Nin feel a surprising emotional stir. He really did it. Every improvised line he delivered left me stunned. The director said it was extremely similar to being moved. I was finally stirred by Comac, my cheeks flushed, and the heartbeat resonated in my chest, shaking my eardrums. I felt like I was turned into a secret admirer by Xing Hang, being controlled and manipulated by him at will. At first, I passively accepted those impulses, and then Xing Hang began to want even more. He said, he also wants me to tease him unexpectedly and catch him off guard. Only with equal power can we stir people's hearts. Therefore, I raised my head seriously and looked at him with suspicion. Do you like me like this? He was a bit taken aback, then suddenly laughed and said, you learn really quickly. So we both laughed. The director, a bit confused, said, are you two acting or is it real? Actually, I wasn't too clear if it was acting or real. I just saw that the tips of Thin Hong's ears turned red, and in that state, something called hormones began to spread throughout the set. As we gradually returned to normal, news about Jong-gu came again. Jong-gu had a car accident, and by the time I received the news, he had already removed the bandages. He had many injuries that weren't too serious, but I heard he had a head injury, and he was in the hospital, going crazy trying to find me. I had no choice but to agree to answer his call. On the phone, he was silent for a long time and finally, he hoarsely said with a hint of choking, Nam Nin, it's been a long time since we met, have you forgotten me quickly? If forgetting could make you a little happier, then that's fine. After months of detox, the high defenses I had built up crumbled at this moment. I didn't bother to pick up the bag that fell on the ground, running out as if I had gone mad. Thin Hong grabbed my wrist, his brows furrowed, saying that this scene wasn't over yet, and now it was her turn to break the rules. I regained a bit of composure, but I couldn't think of anything, my mind was screaming. Jong-gu is Comac, Jong-gu is Comac. In the end, Thin Hong couldn't stop me. I went straight to the hospital, directly running to Jong-gu's hospital bed. His injured wrist had the bandages removed, revealing a deep, winding wound. This time, he looked just like Comac. I pulled his collar up, and on his collarbone, there was a tiny mole that had just appeared. I fell back into the chair behind me, just in time to meet Jong-gu's red eyes. He said, Nam Nin, it's been a long time since we met. Just this one sentence made me confirm that this leather bag was indeed Comac. He stared at me for a long time and his eye sockets became wet. This was the first time we met again after experiencing life and death separation. In his eyes, there was loss, joy, but even more so, an overwhelming regret for having hurt me. He said, Nam Nin, I had a very long dream. In the dream, my name was Comac. He looked at me sadly. That wasn't a dream, was it? Of course it wasn't a dream. The feeling of heartbreak is so clear, the love is so deep, even if hidden in a dream, it is etched in the heart. A vague pain spread in my chest. The deep love for Comac that had resurfaced during those waking nights was unreasonable, yet it was irresistible. I thought of my dagger, remembering Comac's satisfied smile. Don't forget him, Nam Nin, take him home. Nam Nin, after missing and hung for 3 years, I have now found a place to rest. I thought I would rush to hug my Comac, to to hold the one destined for me. Although it always felt like it shouldn't be, it was hard to resist. Just then, Thin Honk's phone rang. "Miss Nam Nin, do you want to go on a date with your Mr. Comac tonight?" "Your Mr. Comac?" As soon as these words were spoken, the spring in my head seemed to be disturbed. After a month of rehearsals, when I heard the phrase "your Mr. Comac," the first thing that came to my mind was Thin Honk's mocking words. He said, "Your boyfriend would never let you kill him with your own hands." The voice on the phone continued. "Miss Nam Nin, do you want to discuss the final plot with me tonight? How can we change it to elevate this theme of breaking fate?" My mind gradually cleared, and I suppressed the urge to hug Comac. Across from me, Jongvu was still murmuring. "Nam Nin, that wasn't a dream, that was reality." At that time, my neck hurt a lot, but the pain was nothing compared to the separation. "Nam Nin, I thought I would never see you again." A bit of clarity in my mind was overwhelmed by a feeling of suffocation. Two forces were constantly pulling me, and I used all my strength to avoid embracing Jongvu. I thought I was doing the right thing. Because right after that, the girl named Lam Yuyan rushed in. She cried uncontrollably, hugging Jongvu and burying her face in his chest. She was obviously very scared. She said she thought she was about to lose him. She regretted endlessly, as if she finally saw her true feelings when faced with life and death. She wanted to take Jongvu to register for marriage. It felt like a bucket of cold water was dumped straight on my head. I immediately became clear-headed. The sound of Thin Hang vomiting came through the phone. "With such a dog-blood romance, Miss Nam Nin, how can you endure it?" I adjusted my emotions, laughed, as if some truth was revealed. I agreed to Thin Hang's happiness. When I left Jongvu's hospital room, he was coldly confronting Lam Yuyan. His eyes were fierce, and his words were harsh, making him seem like a completely different person from before, changing so suddenly. I took the opportunity to sneak out of the hospital room, still unable to avoid the waves of irrational emotions. I tried to call Thin Hang. The moment he appeared, I couldn't wait to throw my arms around his neck. He said he wanted to refer to the details, and it didn't matter how, right? In his eyes, there were tiny fragments of light, and he smiled, saying, "As long as you are willing, I will follow you to the end." So for the first time, I took the initiative to kiss him. I carefully felt everything that kiss brought. The feelings were real, love was soft, and there was no so-called feeling of breathlessness. It seemed like my fate had long been predetermined by someone. After that kiss, I looked up at Thin Hang. "You know, right?" He smiled but didn't speak, and after a moment, he just tucked my hair behind my ear. "Your destiny is not controlled by others." "What if I am the author?" I asked calmly. "If I said this world is a novel, would you believe it?" Thin Hang stared at me for a moment. What was he thinking? "Are you teasing me and then wanting to throw me away with fate?" I couldn't see any clues in his eyes, so I restored my sly smile. I wasn't teasing him either, we were just discussing the script. I took the initiative to end that topic, but I already had the answer in my heart. I confirmed that I had feelings for Thin Hang, but every time I saw Comac, those feelings couldn't be suppressed, let alone resisted. This is really unreasonable. I thought, just like I had suspected, my fate was indeed written by someone else. That person had determined that Comac was the one destined for me. This conclusion didn't come out of nowhere. Since I went to see the psychologist, I had started looking for the cause. A person suddenly appeared in my dream, the longing from the dream spilled into reality, everything was unusual. It wasn't until I successfully detoxified that I thought I had escaped from that invisible hand, but that script appeared once again. It completely replayed the past, forcing me to revisit my complicated feelings for Comac, wanting to continue to control me. To verify my final guess, I said goodbye to Thin Hang and sought out the temple I had been hearing about recently. The enlightened monk seemed to have been waiting for me for a long time. Upon meeting, he asked if I was suffering from love. I allowed him to hypnotize me. The scenes in the dream stretched on, and just as I guessed, my past life truly had Comac. Everything I ever dreamed of has happened in a past life. We loved each other and then faced off against each other. Ko-mak went through painful tearing and ultimately chose to give up the chance to live for me. As for me, I died in resentment not long after he left. This hypnosis seems to be telling me that the current Jongwoo is actually Ko-mak from the past life. Every clue screams that Ko-mak has awakened, that we should continue the unfinished bond. But besides those things, I saw something else. There were images that had never appeared in dreams, faintly in some place, as if some force was deliberately smudging them. I tried asking the high monk if those gradually disappearing images were the trajectory that I and Jongwoo were originally meant to have. Those initial setups no longer occur because I have detoxified, and thus are being erased. He sighed, looking profound and inscrutable. You cannot speak, what is still unclear at this point? Even if he didn't speak, I had already guessed. My life is a novel or a play. My joys, sorrows, loves, and hates are all in the hands of the author. I am grateful for the appearance of Thin Hang. He brought me doubts about the script, doubts about Ko-mak's suffocating sacrifice. He used practical actions to give this ridiculous fate a chance. Now everything is clear. I think I know what to do next. That night, Jongwoo was inexplicably held back and did not look for me anymore. I finally followed the director's lead and completed the final version of the play. The next morning, Jongwoo appeared at the theater door with wounds. From afar, seeing me, tears filled his face. He looked haggard and stared at me intently, as if he had 1,000 words to say, but in the end, he couldn't utter a single word. I told my colleague to give him the first ticket. Today is the first rehearsal, as if there was some arrangement for us to reminisce about that arduous path together at this very moment, as if wanting to erase the hurt that Jongwoo once caused me. When the performance began, Jongwoo sat in the audience without saying a word, his aura gradually matching that of Ko-mak. Thus, throughout the performance, that sorrowful despair was no longer acting for me. When Thin Hang kissed me, I couldn't help but let my tears fall. When he described the future with me, there was no longing in my eyes, only despair. Just like during rehearsals when he tried to give me a sense of security, leading me to break free from fate. But every time I wanted to say something, I stopped, making his gaze even heavier. My colleagues around were shocked to realize that the script we were performing was exactly like the original. All the thoughts, changes, and collisions did not appear at all. The pressure of the entire performance reached its peak. At the final moment, the despair in my eyes finally spread to Thin Hang. He hugged me from behind, intimately searching my body, deliberately ignoring the dagger at my hip. He bit me and then closed his eyes, kissing me wildly, as if wanting to engrave this feeling into my bones. At the most intense moment, his hand rested on the gun at his waist. Ko-mak, do you finally want to take action? The gunshot rang out. I turned my hand, the dagger traced a deadly arc. I can definitely read from his eyes, though it is sorrowful, there is certainty. Seeing me cry over him, he must think that I still love him deeply. I am certain that we will continue our romantic connection. The fate of our past lives, the things that belong to us in dreams, make us understand each other without needing to speak every second we face each other. The pain in my chest almost made me believe it too. If it weren't for Thin Hang about to die, then Tao said not to forget him after speaking. Suddenly sitting up from the ground, he moved his neck a bit. Does this male lead have a problem? After speaking, he stood up and pulled the person who was crying, who seemed to be me, up. If you want to die, find a hidden place to do it. Why should you die and still want others to carry the guilt? Who was that director just now? This script is too bloody. The performance hasn't ended yet. This is the final version that the director and I have already discussed. A performance within a performance. The excited colleagues around whispered to lead new ideas to the grieving audience. That's right, why should you want to die and borrow someone else's hand? Is there any malice? Isn't this just deceiving morality by putting on a cloak of deep feelings? Not only not letting me forget him but also bringing him home. What is this? Is this preparing to meet again in the next life?
This story is brought
It's
to you
really
by
bloody
Brainy
enough.
Vibe.
Jongwoo's complexion, which could be seen with the naked eye, was gradually darkening, and he carefully assessed me with a strong self-control. He wanted to find clues from my expression. I was helping Thin Hong down from the stage and looked up to see the wound on his neck, disgustedly telling him, "Hurry up and clean it." Thin Hong said she was infatuated with this shabby novel, wanting to experience the carefree love of that name, Comac, so I could cooperate with her in the performance just now. "Why do you hate me now?" I took a handkerchief to wipe the colored medicine off his wound, pouting and saying, "You haven't experienced it yourself. How do you know that the survivor is the one who suffers the most? According to the script, isn't it a lifetime of carrying guilt and wanting to repay debts in the next life? I heard that in the next life, I would still be scolded by him like a dog." After torturing the body and mind, the male lead finally found the memories of his past life, along with the grace of saving a life. The female lead endured disgust and reconciled with him. After speaking, my gaze briefly glanced at Jong-vu, who was tightly hugging his chest, struggling to suppress his heaving chest. I know that kind of pain. The dreams of many nights tortured me deeply. I looked at Ko Thin Hong again. Clearly, he chose it himself. Why not risk his life for their loved ones? "You haven't tried anything yet, and you want to die." I highly suspect that he actually only knows himself. Thin Hong smiled at me indulgently. What does he know about himself? I guess he knew that he was not a match for the female lead, so he used this despicable trick to make the female lead feel guilty towards him for 2 lifetimes even if she won. Thin Hong declined to comment and laughed. "This sentence is purely made up, but I can't help but want to return all the grievances of so many years immediately." Jong-vu had curled up on the chair, unable to bear the pain, his shoulders drooping, giving an overall feeling of despair. It's impossible not to feel pain, especially after just going through that hypnosis, making me and Comac experience another round of suffering in our past lives, but if I want to break free, I have to peel off a layer. In the final performance, Thin Hong asked me, after going through everything, "Do you still feel that my love for you is not as good as Comac in the script?" I know, if he has any intention, he is asking this question of himself. I looked down from the stage. The feeling of fate binding me made it hard for me to speak, but I don't want to surrender. I don't want to surrender. The one who controls my fate in his hands doesn't intend to show any pity. So I caught the lifeline Thin Hong gave me. I was lost in Thin Hong's eyes without distraction. That place contains love, that place hides my true feelings. So I firmly said, "The damn fate is just me deceiving myself and others. I'm just acting. Do you really think it's real?" "I dream, I won't take it as real." Thin Hong affectionately hugged me, the music ended, and there was a short confession from the actors. The so-called destined person does not exist. If there are brave girls, it must be that you willingly accept it, and there should be no compromise for the overall benefit. As the large curtain fell, I saw Jong-vu slowly collapse on the front row bench, then completely separated by the large curtain. The first audition for this play, focusing on new thoughts about women, went very well. Thin Hong and I performed more than 10 scenes fluidly. After that, I didn't see Jong-vu anymore. I think I once loved Comac deeply. He is at least a tough person. He will sooner or later be like me, gradually discovering the flaws in that uncontrollable feeling. As someone also controlled by fate, I sincerely wish him to break free from the constraints soon. After completely breaking away from Comac, my condition gradually improved. It can almost be confirmed that I have finally escaped from the pen that controlled me. In the final performance, Thin Hong finally confessed to me officially. Not on stage, nor during rehearsal. In a private place, he officially stepped out of his role and solemnly asked me if I was willing to be with him. Once again, I saw certainty in someone else's eyes. Dozens of well-matched performances, countless ambiguous rehearsals, and those moments of genuine expression made him understand that we both had feelings for each other. He looked at me firmly. "Nam Nin, thank you for breaking the barriers to be by my side." Raising the ring in front of me, he was filled with anticipation. I did not reach out. I looked up and calmly asked him why I was willing to wear his proposal ring. "Is this your mission of power?" Thin Hong stood frozen in shock. The ring fell from his hand, and for a madman who could easily play countless roles, it was rare to see him show a panicked expression. After a long time, he slowly regained his composure and then laughed at himself. He said, "That's right, the female lead can struggle to break free from fate, how could she not see my farce?" I didn't speak. In fact, I didn't know early on that he was a strategist. At first, I only suspected there was some connection between him and Comac. Seeing him repeatedly emphasize breaking free from fate, I once thought he was my savior. Until Jonggu woke up, I saw the panic in his eyes. That panic didn't feel like losing a lover. So, after realizing that this world was actually a novel, I came up with that bold speculation. After all, it was just speculation. The certainty I felt earlier was only 3 parts testing the waters. But he gave me the worst answer. In the strangely quiet room, stripped of the facade of intimate relationships, everything looked both fragile and deceitful. Thin Hang lit a cigarette, the smoke rising made him squint as if he was about to cry. I took the initiative to break the silence. What would happen if the mission succeeded? He looked at me for a long time through the smoke. I would leave and return to my world. Thin Hang might be scared too. Who wouldn't want to go home? He was just a little short of success, of course, he would worry that I wouldn't let go. I bent down to pick up the ring that had fallen on the floor, examining it carefully. It bore the initials of both our names, clearly showing that he had put thought into it. Even without knowing my ring size, he still managed to buy a perfectly fitting one. I put the ring on my finger, and Thin Hang's tears immediately fell. He pretended to choke on the smoke, coughing violently to hide it. No need to feel guilty. I smiled and reached out to wipe the tears from his face. We have all gotten what we needed. Thin Hang looked at me with confusion. If he is a strategist, then he should have known long ago. The psychologist once gave me 2 options, one was to detox through Jongvu, and the other was to fall in love with someone else. From the moment I saw the script and then met him, I started to have doubts. If the opportunity has been handed to me, there is no reason not to take advantage of it. Thin Hang gradually understood, pondered for a moment, then burst out laughing. He took another drag of his cigarette, laughing loudly without restraint. I laughed along with him. He raised the glass of wine beside him. I clinked my glass with him. Cheers to our cooperation. My young lady Nan Ning was very happy. My Mr. Comac. We laughed until tears filled our faces, as if bidding farewell and thanking a performance that had finally ended perfectly. On stage, Thin Hang hugged me for a long time, refusing to let go. This time it's really goodbye, my Mr. Comac, don't worry, I will be fine. I loved neither him nor Jongvu. I will not love someone destined by fate, nor will I be like a pawn loving the one holding the flag. Even if it's for salvation, I am not willing to do it voluntarily. Peeling off a layer to escape fate, I just want to love according to my own wishes. Love is love, not for any other reason. Finally, Thin Hang let go, turned around, and bowed to thank me. And after 2 deeply ingrained passive experiences, I finally regained the freedom to love for myself. Thank you for taking the time to listen to today's story. I greatly appreciate your comments, suggestions, and feelings. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to support the channel. See you in the next stories.